those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down, as you lie in fields of gold. You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold.
Snow on everyone. But clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still
Check.
somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. I've looked at life from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Where are you this moment? Only in my dreams. You're missing, but you're always a heartbeat from me. I'm lost now without you. I don't know where you are. I keep watching, I keep hoping, but time keeps us apart. Is there a way I can find you? Is there a sign I should know? Is there a road I could follow to bring you back home? Winter lies before me. Now you're so far away. In the darkness of my dreaming, the light of you will stay. If I could be close beside you, if I could be where you are, if I could reach out and touch you and bring you back home. Is there a way I can find you? Is there a sign I should know? Is there a road I
walked in fields of gold. So she took her love fall to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her head came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. I never made promises lightly, and there have been some that I've broken, but I swear in the day still left, we will walk in fields of gold. We will walk in fields of gold. Many years have passed
clouds of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that weep, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. At all. I've looked at life from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Where are you this moment? Only in my dreams. You're missing, but you're always a heartbeat from me. I'm lost now without you. I don't know where you are. I keep watching, I keep hoping, but time keeps us apart. Is there a way I can find you? Is there a sign I should know? Is there a road I could follow to bring you back home? Winter lies before me. Now you're so far away. In the darkness of my dreaming, the light of you will stay. If I could be close beside you, if I could be where you are, if I could reach out should know. Is there a road I could follow to bring you back home to me?
You remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her head came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. I never made promises lightly, and there have been some that I've broken, but I swear in the days still left we will walk in fields of gold. We will walk in fields of gold. Many years have passed since those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down, as you lie in fields of gold. You remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we
arms of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. I've looked at life from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Where are you this moment? Only in my dreams. You're missing, but you're keep watching, I keep hoping, but time keeps us apart. Is there a way I can find you? Is there a sign I should know? Is there a road I could follow to bring you back home? Winter lies before me. Now you're so far away. In the darkness of my dreaming, the light of you will stay. If I could be close beside you, if I could be where you are, if I could reach out and touch you and bring you back home. Is there a way I can find you? Is there a sign I should know? Is there a road I could follow to bring you back home to me?
You remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her head came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold.
You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile that she has lived. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us here today to celebrate the life of Carrie. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone who is here before me in this wonderful setting, but most importantly, to welcome Carrie's husband, Donovan, her two sons, Wesley and Johnny, who have joined us online from their home in Cheshire in England. To Carrie's daughter, Melissa, I know how difficult this is for you, but thank you from the bottom of my heart for arranging such an amazing dedication to your mom. So by introduction, for those who may not have had the pleasure of meeting, I'm David. I'm Carrie's oldest brother, and I'm honored to be speaking here to help coordinate the celebration of that being the life of Carrie. So a big welcome to Carrie's husband, Donovan, Carrie's two sons, Wesley, Johnny, and Darren, who is Carrie's stepson, and to, of course, Melissa, Carrie's firstborn, together with her husband, Kyle, and dear Luna, who obviously is at home being looked after, Carrie's granddaughter. My elderly father, who unfortunately could not be here due to his current ill health, our younger brother, Robert, who is present here today, Carrie's nephews, James, Matthew, Donovan's mum, Val, who is online, my late dear mom, who I know is here with us in spirit today, ex-colleagues, extended family, friends, and then also pupils who Carrie taught. A huge thank you for gracing us with your presence here today, and all that we can share in some of the memories of this remarkable woman, my dear sister Carrie. Carrie was born Carrie Patricia Owen on the 22nd of July in Brighton, England. I don't remember much of that day myself, but I was 17 months older. However, those 17 months, although I just say 17 months quite flippantly, those 17 months became a big thing later on in our life, especially growing up, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. I'm not going to read too much more because reading isn't really my thing. Carrie would be absolutely disgusted, being the person that she is. But nevertheless, Carrie was born on the 22nd of July, 1967, and she was born in. We grew up. Our early lives were in the UK. And as mentioned, not really understanding much of those early times, there are a lot of fantastic, wonderful memories that I have purely because of the photographs that were taken at the time. And I just remember this dear little girl, brother and sister, hand in hand. And Carrie was a suitable attachment in terms of being a sister. She did the job, and those were lovely sort of photographs that we had. But staying in the UK was very short-lived because, as most people did in those days, well, not most people, but I mean, it was one of those things that happened that there was this sort of migration or immigration across, to South Africa where, families came to look for, I suppose, different opportunities. And anyway, so we left Southampton in 1969. It was a trip that seemed to, I suppose, take a lifetime, but eventually we docked in Cape Town, and there's the most wonderful photograph of myself and my sister holding hands on the deck with Table Mountain in the background. Sorry, this is tough, but... Anyway, it was. I think it was a couple of days later that we ended up getting through to Durban, where we disembarked. But the important thing about that memory was that it was the day before we got off the boat in Durban that it was Carrie's second birthday, and almost to steal the show, there was a big celebration. She turned 2 on the boat, and we. And again, those memories in terms of Carrie's birthday, or, there are a couple of photographs that I remembered, that bring back all those memories, And anyway, it was the following day, and that would have been the 23rd of July, 1969, that remarkably, not only did we arrive in Durban and land in South Africa, but Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. Um, it was because of Carrie's birthday that whenever that question was asked in geography, I managed to actually end up getting that question right. And, so there we were. We arrived in Durban and made our way, from Durban all the way up to Johannesburg. So our first place, the first house that we bought was in Olympic Road in Blegauri. And those memories were fantastic. More so purely because Carrie and I were getting to know each other. We were a little bit more grown up, and I suppose, the brother-sister sort of dynamic was starting to play out. And no more so than when I think Carrie was probably all about the age of 4 years old, maybe even 3, but I think she was 4. There was an incident where I managed to climb up onto our garage roof, which was absolutely forbidden. Anyway, it was my den, it was my place, it was my little sanctuary, and I used to sort of stand up there and just look out at the world. And now you've got to understand that Blegauri in those days was very much not what it is today. You could literally see the horizon, and as far as I was concerned, I could see all the way back to England. But nevertheless, looking out from my den, I saw this little person walking down the street across an intersection and all the way up the road. And I realized that was Carrie. And I realized that Carrie had decided at that young age to leave home. Well, that's what I thought. And I was sort of happy for her, but happy that in a way this was sort of that big, it wasn't a rivalry, it was just one of those things that, brother and sister, I did my thing, she did her thing. And Carrie was adamant, and it was the beginning of her stubbornness. The dilemma that I had was, of course, the fact that I was either going to have to give up my den and admit that I'd seen Carrie walking up the distance, up the road into the distance, or, do the right thing and make sure that Carrie got home. Anyway, I went downstairs. I went to my mum and dad, and they got in the car and collected Carrie. I was the one that got into trouble, not Carrie. And this became the beginning, I think, of that sort of brother-sister sort of rivalry that, that gamesmanship that, siblings have. And anyway, nevertheless, it was almost much to my relief that in 1971, my mom gave birth to a brother, and that was Robert. And Robert's would serve his purpose, I suppose, because democracy would rule, especially with gamesmanships and, deciding who would actually be, sort of make the rules in the games, of all the games that we played and so on. In those early days of primary school, we started off at I.O. Griffiths. I don't remember too much about that either, but that was the local school. And I know that Carrie and I think we were there probably for about 3 years until there was a new school that sort of came into the neighborhood to where we were transferred, which was called Green Hills. In 1974, I would have been 8 and Carrie 17 months younger than me. We went back to the UK for a wonderful holiday. Everything in those days, it was cheaper to go by ship, and we had a wonderful time. I think as far as I can remember, the event was more to do with the fact that we had to make up our minds as to whether we were going to settle in South Africa or, in fact, actually sort of go back to the UK. Being in school and, leaving for a holiday, which was literally about 3 months, my mom had to go to the headmistress and, explain that, Carrie and David are not going to be at school for 3 months. And the condition was that we were going to write diaries, and when we got back and re-enter school, the diary would be part of the education. Well, all I can say is that my diary ended up being very slim, one paragraph per day, whereas Carrie wrote volumes, volumes and volumes and volumes. And even though she was younger than me, one of the most wonderful things is that when I look at my diary, I've got very little recollection of that holiday. But when I read Carrie's diary, she didn't leave anything out. And I think that was one of the most wonderful things about her, even at such an early age. She was, in fact, able to, sort of take in these things and put them down into writing and bring back memories. And still to this day, when I read those diaries, my memories of that holiday are more about what Carrie wrote than what I wrote. One of the things that happened, which sort of created this dynamic of growing up with Carrie, was that what we would often go to the Saturday morning pictures, and sometimes the driving. And the idea was that when we came back, that the following day we were going to react these movies. And of course, whether it was Cowboys and Indians or Crooks and Robbers, we were going to play out this movie. But fortunately, because I had a brother, we dictated the rules. And Robert and myself, were sheriff, or we were the good guys. And Carrie was obviously, because of the being outnumbered 2-1, was the baddie. But Carrie had this thing that she was never going to be outdone. And she always dug up the treasure. She always somehow managed to spoil it in a way that sort of like suited her. And it was until such time as one day I was actually the sheriff of the town, who was caught by the baddie and locked in the cupboard. And it was only because of my mom sort of like opening the cupboard and letting her out that in fact I survived the day. And those games, that was Carrie's thing. She was extremely stubborn, and wanted things her way. But she had this tenacity, this incredible way of being able to sort of shape things, the way she saw it. And in hindsight, obviously it was tragic. Me being locked in a cupboard, the eldest brother, the sheriff of the town, and this wasn't supposed to happen. But Carrie rewrote stories. She was just one of these amazing people that could suddenly just change and transform everything. And I suppose, everything from there ended up being something that was about myself and my play with my brother, which became more sport, and Carrie going into a direction which was a little bit by herself, but more girl things. Like I mentioned, my brother and I, we used to sort of like kick soccer balls and hit table tennis balls and play cricket and so on. Carrie then got into, in the early days when she was at primary school, she took up ballet. Eventually we moved across from our Griffiths and we went across to Green Hills Primary School. And although Carrie wasn't much of a sports person, she did play netball. But she was more into the creative side. The early signs of what Carrie was to be were being shown, in those days. She would take part in drama. She probably liked more of the creative stuff. Like I say, she did play a little bit of netball, but sport wasn't her thing. But Carrie was definitely into the arts in those days. After primary school, I think it was probably towards the end of primary school, my mum and dad decided that we were going to move. I think the space in Blairgowrie became just a little bit too small, and we ended up moving across to Craigle Park, which we call Lancaster Avenue. And that's where a whole new dynamic changed. It was a wonderful situation. Alistair and Angela are here today. We moved next door to a family that's basically, Robert had his mate Clive, who were the same age. There was Angela and Carrie, a couple of years between them, and Alistair and myself. There was a year between us, and those years of play and getting up to no good. I think there are a couple of speeches that will be mentioned later where that sort of go into those details. It was almost, there was a new lease on life. And especially because we had friends where we could do these amazing things with. But as for Carrie, there was um, Carrie. One of the stories that I could probably tell you about those days was that Carrie went through this phase where she wanted a guinea pig, and she was adamant about it. And eventually, I think my mum and dad gave in, and they bought this ginger and white guinea pig whose name was George. And George, Carrie was preoccupied and loved George to bits, but George ended up needing a partner. And in my mum's wisdom, she went and bought another male guinea pig whose name was Sam. Well, it wasn't, I think, 10 days later, we realized that Sam was a Samantha. And I think there were 12 little guinea pigs, all of which had names. And every single one of them used to go into Carrie's dollhouse and run around, and she would teach them. That's what Carrie did. The early signs of Carrie wanting to be a teacher and sort of just instructing possibly, were there. And I'll never forget, obviously, the part that was just so endearing. Carrie, she looked after those guinea pigs. She fed them, and that was her thing. And but it was not surprising that Sam became a Samantha and everything went sort of a little bit awry. But Carrie enjoyed that sort of like nurturing and bringing everything back together. Carrie matriculated in 1984, and then she went to the College of, I think it was of Education, obviously realizing that in fact that she wanted to follow her first love, that was teaching. And it was during that time, I suppose, where I didn't really see much of Carrie because I myself ended up going through to the army and so on. And I used to come home, and I think pretty much every single time I had to almost like sort of reintroduce myself to Carrie because she had a different haircut. It was a different color. It was the 80s. I mean, that was Carrie. There were all sorts of things going on in her life, where she would arrange fashion shows. But Carrie was adamant that, that style that was Carrie was what she was. It would change often, and like I mentioned, things were quite strange for me because I sometimes didn't recognize who she was until I realized. But that was Carrie's way. And anyway, it was once Carrie had qualified, she entered into KEPS, which obviously is where she spent most of her time teaching. And I'm not going to say too much about KEPS because I think there's a lot that will be mentioned a little bit later about just how incredible she was. But I must say that one of the things that Carrie has been recognized for in all the lovely letters that I've read, and everyone who's like phoned and messaged, etc. Carrie was an incredible teacher. And I think her legacy is something that will probably last a long time. She started so much. Her love for teaching was just incredible. And I think there were so many pupils who benefited just from not just her teaching, but her way, her kindness, her empathy, things that I think a lot of people struggle with. And it's not that natural. But that being said, I think those around Carrie learned from how she affected the results that she got. And I know that there are a lot of very proud pupils out there who have made their way through life because of what Carrie has taught them. And that was just amazing, to know that my sister was responsible for being part of so many youngsters' lives. I know at one stage when we spoke, she mentioned that every single boy in her aftercare, which was significant, which was very, very large, and I mean the school, and the boys that were around her. She mentioned that she knew every boy's name, and she never forgot that. They would arrive in front of her, and she would call them out. She would, and that was amazing. She absolutely really took every individual as an individual, but as a group but when she taught them as a group, they were together. Um, Melissa was born in 1993, and it was one of the proudest moments of my life, because, well, not only was it Carrie's firstborn, but I was an uncle. And I know how hard this is for you as well, Melissa, but one of the things that I will say is that life, I suppose, sort of changes and so on. But Melissa, the bond that Melissa and Carrie had was just incredible and remained such right through, until the end. Um, you remind me so much of your mum. After Carrie's first marriage, she met Donovan. Now, knowing who Carrie was and so on, um, I won't say I was completely surprised, but I think I was in many ways, because Donovan seemed to be almost the complete opposite of who Carrie was. Donovan is one of the most amazing people that I've met. He, he absolutely adored my sister, and even though they were complete opposites, they somehow just complemented each other. They were Donovan allowed Carrie to be Carrie, and Carrie allowed Donovan to be Donovan. And when I look back to, the days of the sort of the exchanges that I had with Carrie, which were about the gamesmanship and, sort of being locked in cupboards and so on, and whatever it was, and Carrie, that wonderful banter that you have. I often saw that with Donovan and Carrie, and it was healthy. It was lovely because they absolutely really loved each other, and I think what they did was actually bring out the best in each other all the time. And to Donovan, I'm eternally grateful for you for really loving my sister like you did. Just to talk about one of Carrie's little sort of strange things, because Carrie was she was very compulsive, very stubborn. I mean, besides everything that was nice about Carrie, she did have her little quirks. And one of the things that I remember very dearly was Carrie phoning me up and saying that she had bought a car. And of course, being the boy and, the eldest brother and the whole thing, I was very excited about this because, I mean, these things didn't just happen. You had to obviously, work towards saving money and so on. And I asked Carrie what car she had bought. And her answer was it was a purple one. And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "No, it's a purple one." I said, "Well, what's the make and model and the engine size and all those things that sort of were important to me?" And she said she had no idea. It was a purple car. And when I asked her about it, she said that she had driven past a car showroom for months, and on the embankment was a purple car that quite obviously no one was going to buy. I mean, who buys a purple car? And Carrie felt sorry for the car, and she bought it. And that's what Carrie did. Even though it was an inert object, Carrie somehow just seemed to feel sorry, for anything that just didn't sort of wasn't going to find its place in mainstream and so on. Anyway, Carrie drove this purple car around, and I'm not quite sure whatever happened to it, but that's one of the memories that I have. This my sister drives a purple car. After the marriage with Donovan, Wesley was born in 1998 and Jonathan in 2003. I think as Melissa mentioned, there's 5 years, sort of between all of you. And growing up, with Jonathan and Wesley around, I have to say that every single time I see them, even though there's distance now with them being in the UK, I'm so proud of who they are. Just to elaborate a little bit, the family had a very intimate sort of service this morning, which was um, uh, with the immediate family in the UK, with Donovan, Wesley, Jonathan, and then of course Darren. And Carrie's ashes were laid to rest, and I can't tell you how proud I am of how they've turned out. I think they've managed to take everything that was special about Carrie, and I see that in all of them. And those are the things that I think that all of you can be so proud of. Even though Carrie's been taken away from us so soon, you know, she lives in all of you, and it's the important things that matter. That part that I see in you, and I think Carrie will be so proud of everything that you are. One of the things about Carrie as well was that even though she didn't suffer fools, was obviously was highly intelligent and so on and so forth. She didn't partake in social media. She wasn't into ego, even though she, Carrie drove a purple car, and I think at one stage a bright yellow car as well. She wasn't into anything that was about ego. It was always about other people, and so I think for a lot of people it was quite a shock to actually even hear that Carrie had cancer. Cancer that Carrie had probably had for about 20 years, and one of the reason I'm mentioning this is that Carrie never ever made anything about herself. Had she been on social media, we probably may have known. Of course, obviously the immediate family knew, and very close friends and so on. But even when I used to speak to Carrie on the phone, and I would ask her, how are things going, she would so quickly divert the conversation and rather talk about, the boys and, the nephews and everyone. She never ever made a nuisance about herself. And I think that's probably one of the most endearing things that I will remember, that, through all this amazing sort of space that Carrie occupied in people's lives, it was never about her. It was always about someone else. She always went for looking after the most vulnerable and so on. And so, obviously when the news came through that, the cancer had spread to a point where obviously it wasn't, it was literally a point of no return. Even for ourselves, it was a shock, because Carrie had managed this literally for 20 years, and unfortunately, she just couldn't maintain. And so Carrie knew that this day was coming. She was a very organized person, but even still, with everything that is about an epilogue and things coming to an end, Carrie would never talk about herself, and it always astounded me that was who she was. I'm going to let the speeches talk about Keps and everything that Carrie achieved. So I'm going to move on from there. But I mean, the fact that Carrie joined and created this amazing aftercare and was so heavily involved in Thras, organized the entire Keps centenary, pretty much by herself, although she did rope me in, which was quite something, and I was honored to be part of that. Becoming vice principal, one of the things that to me has been just incredible are the messages from pupils that Carrie taught. People, youngsters who felt the effects of Carrie and the influence that she had on their lives. And that has meant the world to me. Towards, I would say, probably across the last 10 years, one of the things that Carrie did from the bottom of her heart was really pay special attention to my mom and dad. We didn't always have the greatest situation with mom and dad, getting divorced, etc. but each one of them individually needed support, and Carrie was always there. She didn't involve herself with the indifferences that were part of the family breakup that occurred. My sister employed my mom, who became very much part of the bookkeeping with Keps, and then with my dad, who ended up being down at the coast. Carrie eventually, found him and put him made sure that that he looked after a holiday home and supported him, right to the end. She was always putting her hand in her pockets, putting them first, and really doing something that wasn't really possible for the rest of the family. And forever and a day, I will always appreciate Carrie for looking after mum and dad. Carrie relocated or repatriated back with Donovan, Wesley, and Jonathan to the UK just before COVID. And even though jobs were difficult to find at that time, eventually there was an opportunity for her to go and work in Scotland. And I know it was probably difficult at that stage for her to separate herself from Jonathan, Donovan, and Wesley. She went to live by herself in Scotland, and she taught at a school for remedial kids. And it wasn't just, these were very troubled teenagers. Obviously Carrie's, space and specialty was with youngsters, but these were teenagers that really, were sort of in a very difficult space. And the effect that she had on them and changing them and making a difference where other people couldn't was profound. She eventually had to leave and then resettle back in Cheshire due to obviously for her health and so on. And I think it was there that she spent her last special days, obviously with Donovan, Wesley, and Johnny, and then of course Darren as well. They were difficult days, I suppose. We'll never quite know, purely because, as mentioned, Carrie never really spoke about them. But when the news broke, obviously it was devastating. And obviously, all I can really say is that what has really helped the family is just the absolute sort of love and kindness, the messages, everything that has come through from everyone that is here today, everyone overseas. Carrie was well loved for the right reasons. And it's just incredible to, even though I've been speaking for a while and trying to sort of like paint a picture, which probably a lot of you wouldn't have known, and others will maybe plug into, there are lots of parts that I didn't know, and I think it's through these messages of love and recognition that I'm extremely proud today to sort of stand up and talk about my sister the way I have, and just to know that Carrie was well loved, and it's. It is a sad occasion, but at the same time, I'm so incredibly proud of being able to talk so proudly of someone who has made such a difference in so many lives. I'm just going to go to my notes, but we're going to have a few other sort of voices other than myself. So I'm going to ask Leanne if she wouldn't mind coming up and saying a few words. Thank you, Leanne.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. As we gather here today to celebrate, I hope I'm going to get through this. as we gather here today to celebrate the extraordinary life of Carrie, a woman whose spirit so obviously touched everyone she encountered. The words of Wiz Khalifa's song resonate deeply. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. I've had the privilege of calling Carrie my friend for more than 40 years. It feels like just yesterday that we met at JCE. From that moment on, our friendship became a journey, one filled with laughter, tears, and everything in between as we navigated life's ups and downs together. There were times when life got busy, when our paths diverged for a while. But what I cherished most was the unwavering bond we shared. We were always there for each other, ready to reconnect and pick up right where we left off. We celebrated each other's achievements, shared in moments of happiness, and stood by one another through the tough times. Carrie had this incredible ability to just make everything feel a little lighter, a little brighter. She was completely selfless. Carrie was so much more than a daughter, a mother, a business owner, a teacher, a colleague, and a friend. She was a beacon of light, a pillar of strength, and a source of unwavering love. One of her most admirable qualities was her unwavering commitment to her beliefs. Carrie was someone who stood true to herself, even if it meant going against the grain. In a world where it can be all too easy to conform, she chose authenticity. I admired her courage to speak up, to challenge the status quo, and to advocate for what she believed in. Throughout her life, Carrie faced adversity with courage. She tackled challenges head-on. Even during her battle with cancer, she approached each day with resilience and humor. In dark moments, she would phone me, and she always found a way to see the positive and a reason to smile and laugh, reminding me that laughter is also a powerful medicine. I often shared the words of Dr. Seuss with her. You are braver than you think, stronger than you seem, and more loved than you know. I felt those words perfectly encapsulated the essence of who she was. Carrie embodied bravery. She showed us how to confront our fears and carry on with grace. Her loyalty and integrity were unmatched. Carrie always put the well-being of her friends and family foremost, even when she was facing her own challenges. She had the innate ability to make everyone feel valued and loved, a reminder that our connections are what truly matter in this life. Her greatest pride lay in her children and Luna, her granddaughter. They were her heart and soul, and the love she had for them was immeasurable. I know that Carrie's spirit lives on in each of them, a legacy of strength, kindness, and a resilience that will guide them through life. Today, as we remember Carrie, let us carry forward her light. Let us be inspired by her strength and her laughter. Her spirit will continue to guide us, reminding us to cherish our connections and to be there for one another and to embrace the moments we have together. Rest easy, my dear friend. You will always be remembered, always be missed, and always be loved until we meet again.
Thanks so much, Leanne. Margie, if you would like to come and say a few words. I'd just like to mention that when Melissa and I looked at the weather forecast for today, everything looked fine and the wind was going to come at about 5 o'clock. But of course, I believe that Carrie is sort of like somehow swept through, just checking that everything has been fine and organized just the way she was. So anyway, Margie, please come up. Thank you.
feel as though I've got a very hard act to follow, so might be lots of repetitions. Good afternoon, everyone. I met Carrie in the staff room at King Edward Preparatory School. She told me the education department had informed her there was a suitable post for her at the school and she should go there to be interviewed by the headmaster. I might just add, she looked very glamorous and she was dressed beautifully in very bright red high-heeled shoes. I thought, well, we won't be seeing many of those again. How wrong I was. She always had beautiful, all kinds of different coloured shoes. Mr. Foote, who was a very good judge of character, interviewed her and I think just realised what all her capabilities were. He listened to her ideas and offered her the teaching post in his room there and then. It was a decision which he never regretted and very gratefully as well made Carrie contribute to the entire school. Carrie was really very highly thought of by all members of staff. She was always busy and gave freely of her time if need be. Her problem-solving skills were superb and addressed quietly and quickly. She was kind, helpful, and understanding of many different situations at school as well as personal matters. In a way, her presence was tangible. It really was throughout the school, although she at times never came into the staff room that often. She was too busy. She was a lovely person to work and teach with, and in her own way she really added meaning and substance to the academic and particularly to the cultural side of the school. I now know why, with all the plays you had from when she was 6 weeks old. Her pupils under her care that were interested in different subjects and situations were really inspired by her. Her instructions were clear. She understood what they didn't understand, and then they understood what she wanted them to understand. And they were really able to do what they needed to do. And not only in the classroom were they able to do what they had to do, she did it, although she wasn't really on the sports field, but she did do it on the sports field as well. She did introduce a new reading scheme at the school, Thrash. Everybody was quite taken aback, but Carrie decided that was the way to go. So it meant that everybody had to have lessons on the new method, as well as the parents that had to come to school on a Saturday morning. And those parents, I know, really formed such a strong bond with Carrie and with each other, and I know that they're still friendly to this day. So many of the parents were grateful that their sons were able to attend the aftercare, which really she ran so expertly. They were provided with lunch. They were helped with their homework, and they were listened to, and then they were also able to run out for sport and also for sport matches. Without doubt, the appointment of her as the cultural deputy headmistress to King Edward Preparatory School was the most notable achievement for Carrie and for all of us. We must realise that in those days, women did have a bit of a back seat, and Carrie just managed to just have what she really did need to have. It was very, very warmly welcomed by the staff, the parents, and the pupils when it was announced that she would be the deputy cultural headmistress at the school. One of the many highlights in the year were, and now I know why, after she started doing plays at the age of 3 months, were the schoolhouse plays. The way the actors knew their words, musical songs, and characters was astounding. One year, her production was such a smashing hit that it was performed at the Linda Auditorium, and Stephen Curtis, who was an ex-prep, King Edward prep pupil, was the master of ceremonies. Unfortunately, ill health raised its very ugly head in Carrie's life. She underwent various treatment which delayed her condition, but sadly after many years it returned. The second round of treatment was not very successful. Carrie decided to seek treatment in the United Kingdom, and true to form, Carrie embraced life there, which was not easy in many different ways. Teaching in the UK was also very different for Carrie, but in true style, she took this in her stride and fostered a special bond with the special needs pupils. She went to school by bus. The bus driver was always very helpful and shared his knowledge with her of the area and the scenery. She often told me about the cattle and the sheep that she had seen on the different farms on the way to school. Her school were very accommodating regarding the treatment she required. True to form, when she went back to school, Carrie decided to produce a school play. The school had never heard of a school play, particularly because it was for special children. But Carrie persevered, and eventually permission was granted to produce a Christmas play, which came out tops and enjoyed by everybody. Sadly, after a while at that school, her strength really did lessen, and she realized she needed to stay at home, and what a loss that was for the whole teaching world. Now, today, we have all lost Carrie. It still feels so unbelievable that we are here to bid her farewell. Ted, Mr. Owen, we're very sorry and heartbroken for you. We know she was your darling daughter. Carrie loved and cared greatly for you. She admired your musical abilities and was so proud of you playing in a band and also playing the trumpet at her first wedding. Patricia, Mrs. Owen, told me at Carrie's baby shower that she was very nervous about looking after a new baby. I told her it would be fine. She adored looking after you, Melissa, until you went to high school, where you were a boarder. I know you will never forget your mum or your grandmother. Your working life impressed her because all you ever seemed to need was a computer to work from anywhere and even from the beach. She really giggled about it and what we would have to take if we were going on holiday. Wesley and Jonathan were also her firm favourites, which also had a special place in their granny's heart. To her elder brother, David, I think I'm getting the brothers mixed up, Carrie was very grateful to all the help that you gave to your mum, dad, and to your younger brother. And she often told me, but just very casually, not seriously. Donovan Your love and support for Carrie had no boundaries. Emotionally, mentally, physically, personally, and medically, you, Donovan, became her personal doctor, with total commitment to caring for her health. Surely leaving all you knew here, your family, your friends, your workplace, must have been very difficult in so many ways for you. But you never gave up. She often told me how appreciative she was of you and your homemaking skills, looking after your home, her, cooking, and also working at the same time. Melissa, Carrie loved you with all her heart so very much. She was so proud of everything you do and what you've achieved. She found many incidents very amusing and marveled about the different abilities which you applied. I can only comment by saying you are indeed a chip off the old block, and what a good old block it is. Hearing your news of Juno was the highlight of her day. You do know her greatest wish was to give you away on your wedding day. All her blessings will be with you on that special day and every other day for both you and your family. People will always love you for who you are and think of you, your mum, and your family very, very often. Wesley, when she spoke of you, I could physically feel the pride she had for you and your chosen career. She was delighted that you and your wife were settled in such a lovely home. Jonathan, in a recent conversation, she told me you had passed your university exams and that she was sure you would go on, that you would go on with your chosen career. I can't imagine how heartbroken you all are. Everyone feels so deeply sorry for all of you in so many ways. Her life was tangible to all of us. Cherish all the memories you have of her and keep the best ones in your hearts. They will comfort you and they will find a permanent place and always be with you in many ways. Please accept our deepest sympathy from myself, from Keith, Margaret, Craig, Anna, Peter, and all my family. And my sympathy to all of you, because we do know it just is such an awful loss. Thank you.
Margie, thanks so much for those lovely words. And I know how much Carrie meant to you and how much you meant to Carrie as well. And it's lovely to hear all the stories and all the bits and pieces, I suppose, that we never really got to hear. But thank you so much for being such a special person in her life. Thank you. Angela, do you want to say, I've got your speech here if you want it, or if you've got it on your phone? Carrie would love to. Angela was such an important part of our upbringing with being neighbours and so on. So it's lovely to have Angela and Alistair here today. So everyone here's Angela.
Yeah, I think Carrie's one of the few people that could get me to stand up and do this, because I'm a very shy, behind-the-scenes type of person. I really was thrilled the day that the Owens moved into Lancaster Avenue as our neighbours. So, as David has said, there was David for Al, Carrie for me, and Clive for Rob. And so we spent many, many years, in fact, I don't know how long it all was, till we all moved out of the house. But really we grew up together. And spent a huge part of each day playing with each other, talking, just hanging out. And being a couple of years older than me, Carrie really taught me a lot. My sister had moved out by that stage because she's 8 years older. And so Carrie in a way became that older sister for me. and especially during the teen years. So you can imagine just how much she did share and teach me. We had an interconnecting gate between our two houses, which was great. Thanks parents for doing that. So we didn't have to go out onto the road and back or climb over walls or things. And it just meant we went straight from one back garden to the next back garden. And our brothers certainly pulled us into all sorts of things. I think Carrie's stubborn streak came in then as well. But we also spent many hours swimming in each other's pools. We also played tennis at the convent down the road, and we'd have to run across the garden, try to avoid seeing the nuns or, in order to get there. And as much as you say she wasn't so interested in sport, she actually played a really good game of tennis when you were a child. Okay. We also played a lot of video games. You always had the best in the Owens household, much better than ours. And we did so many other things together. We played, you saw a photo of a horse with Carrie. So we had our dogs were our honorary horses, and she had a bigger dog than me. But we set up our own stables and just, really, really good childhood memories. So it was a happy time, us being kids together. It was a privilege, and I have many, many happy memories. We also shared lifts to school because, Carrie, David, Rob, and I all went to Hyde Park High. The rest of my siblings all went to Parktown. And then, still to this day, it's the only time I've ever been involved in a fashion show, thanks to Carrie. But that was really great in Hillbrow one night, and that was really great as a 16-year-old being involved in something like that. And yes, we grew up, we were at each other's weddings, and went our separate ways, but there's always been a very, very special place in each of our hearts for one another. And of course, our moms used to keep us connected because they would have daily phone calls for many years, and then I think it went into weekly. But we always knew what everyone was going through and doing, thanks to our moms. And sadly, obviously, in the last couple of years, that has fallen away. But Carrie, you were always so beautiful. Your smile, that special glint in your eyes, that photo we are commenting on her beautiful, beautiful eyes. Your quick tongue, you had such a wicked sense of humor. We had been fits of laughter as children. Your kindness, and we always knew that your family, your children meant the world to you. Thank you, Carrie, for holding my hand and being there for my many firsts. You will always have a very special place in my heart. Thank you.
And thanks so much, Angela. As mentioned, the Stewarts played a big part in our lives, growing up, and Angela obviously was that person for Carrie. So thank you so much for those lovely words, really. Okay, thank you to everyone who's spoken. As you can imagine, there've been... I'm just going to move this up a little bit because I'm sort of crouching a bit. That's a bit better. As you can imagine, there've been lots of messages that have come through. So please forgive me if you're going to be hearing my voice again. I know I said a lot in the beginning, but these are the words of people that have sent messages of love and care, over the last couple of days and weeks, or since the passing of Carrie. So I'm going to start with Wesley, Carrie's eldest son, and in true Wesley fashion, my mom was a crazy lady. She made me who I am today. I'll forever be grateful for everything that she did to me, my brothers and sister, and the love she gave us, and there won't be a single day where I won't miss her. That's from Wesley. Excuse me, I'm not nearly as organized as Carrie was. Right, Granddad, my father is mentioned. Obviously is not here today because of ill health and the whole thing, but he will see this later. And anyway, these are his words which he dictated. Let me tell you, getting that dictating or dictaphone machine working was quite a thing. But anyway, hi Carrie, it's Daddy here. I'm recording this as I'm unable to attend today, but I thought I would ask David to deliver this on my behalf this afternoon and mention some of the memories of your childhood that I'm sure we are very both fond of. The first incident that I recall was a lovely holiday in Swanage in the UK. When you were approximately 2 years old, David would have been about 3.5. We were in a hotel, waking up, and you were standing in your cot shouting, "David, David, David." A passerby walking down the passage heard this and popped her head in the door and said, "Gosh, you got a tough egg here." And that little message stood in my memory, and a tough egg was you. Later we were on a beach, and we were having a photograph of Mummy holding both of you. And I have this memory of you standing upright with your tight curly hair, with a little bit of frown, my tough egg. It was a beautiful time for all of us. My other memory was of us at the Kruger Park, travelling around in an old Volkswagen, and we had paused by a dry riverbed. And there were some vultures that were devouring a carcass. I decided then to quiz the family and give a prize to the first one that spotted a lion. And immediately you shouted, "Daddy, Daddy, there's the lion." I couldn't believe what I was actually hearing, and so I looked in your direction, and below me down, there was a lion walking across the other side of the riverbed. A beautifully maned lion, which made its way across to the carcass. The prize, if I recall, was a £1 note. I remember so many Christmases, both at 24 Olympic and 41 Lancaster. They're very dear to my memory. Mummy and I would go Christmas shopping, allocating our money to all three of you, making sure that you were all blessed with the same amount of value. And somehow managed to do that even though money was tight. And Christmas Day was always a beautiful time. My recent memories are when you arranged for me to stay in Avonga at number 6 Fair Avenue. I must admit that I'd gone off the rails slightly then, but you jumped in and asked if I could come and stay and look after the holiday home and take over the house rent-free. I obviously jumped at the chance, and it struck me forcibly that here is a woman, a lovely lady, who wanted to please everyone, and she had the love in her heart for everyone. It was certainly a blessing in disguise, and you saved my life. And I was so happy to be able to live in Spey Avenue and enjoy your company when you came down on holiday. And we shared some beautiful times there, especially on the occasion of my 80th birthday. You came down with Donovan and the boys. Melissa and Carl joined as well as David and his family. I recall celebrating with everyone and having a lovely braai with some of the new local friends that I'd managed to make. We all managed to find a place to sleep, with David booking a unit further down the road. I remember that holiday with great fondness, and it reminded me of your love and care and thinking of everybody but yourself. Lastly, I learnt this second-hand, and I believe it was Wesley who recited this for me, saying that you'd gone to the Liverpool shop. Now, this is a thing in my family. My dad's a Liverpool supporter, so I'm sorry if you're not. But anyway, Carrie had gone to the Liverpool shop down the road at the football ground in order to buy a scarf for me. As you were paying for the scarf, you said in a typical classroom voice, "Oh, by the way, do you sell any Manchester United stuff?" I've recited this story numerous times and had a good laugh with everyone about it. Anyway, I think I've said enough now, and wish you all my love and blessings. You're a precious person who was full of care and attention and love to everyone, and all too often neglecting yourself. Goodbye, Carrie. I love you very much. My little tough egg. Love, Daddy. So I'm going to read my note from Roberts, my younger brother, Carrie's younger brother. When I think of my sister, two words come straight to my mind, and that is her loving and caring, how loving and caring she was. She just felt like it was her duty to help other people. When we were small and growing up, I always remember that I had to be her pupil in a class in a small desk in our garage. I hope it turned out to be a good pupil, but I know Carrie was an excellent teacher who loved her work. I will miss her smile and love her and her love for life. The next message that I'm going to read is from Sally Shute. As I write this, I'm listening to Pierre Jésus, one of Carrie's favourite songs, which she once gave Audrey and I a memorable rendition of. Googling this song is highly recommended for both weddings and funerals. Carrie would approve. Carrie, I know that you're listening to this and you have high expectations of what will be said about you. You are very particular and want it to be right, and I hope I can do justice to your wishes. Born 2 weeks apart from each other, Carrie became a very dear friend of mine when I started at King Edward Preparatory School in 2004. We had sons of similar age, and we shared the same intolerance for mediocrity. We both suffered from OCD, and we enjoyed a cigarette, a glass of wine, 2 or 3. Carrie was a remarkable woman. She was unsurpassed as a teacher. Grade 2 boys' dissections, choral verse, thrash, her ingenuity and creativity knew no bounds. There was no challenge that Carrie wouldn't accept. In her last couple of years of teaching, Carrie went to the extreme of helping children who no one else believed could be helped. She was a courageous stickler for manners, a businesswoman, a leader who mentored and coached her staff, a friend who cared and dug deeper to find out how you were really feeling, and a mother and a wife who loved her family unconditionally. Woe betide anyone who took on a Viljoen. Carrie would come after you. Throughout all the time I knew Carrie, she had cancer hanging over her. However, no one would have known it. She never let it influence her life. She never used it as a reason for not doing things. She believed she could win, and she did, for so long. Carrie, rest in peace. I love you, my dear friend. That's from Sally Shute. The next message I'm going to read is from Alan Davies. Alan Davies was, I believe, the founder of Thrash, and that was what Carrie, pushed. And this is a message from him. I believe he's also in the UK at the moment. Hilary and I were deeply saddened to hear the news through Majaki Finger in South Africa. Majaki, thank you for gracing us with your presence today. We were saddened to hear the news that Carrie had passed away. What a character she was, so dynamic and full of life. We know that Carrie struggled with cancer for many years. She first told us about it in an email in 2021. She said, "If you saw me, you would never believe that I had stage 4 cancer. I refused to accept it. I won't make it." The next day she wrote, "In terms of the cancer, I think I'll probably not have a very long life, but I'm going to make sure that whatever time I'm blessed with, I will enjoy it. I always joked with my children that I'd never wanted to be an old bat of a teacher, so I guess I'm getting what I asked for." Below, as Alan writes, is a reference I wrote for Carrie in 2021, which includes a very good summary of who she was, and it reads, "Carrie is a highly intelligent woman with considerable experience from teaching at different levels and working with numerous educational organizations and agencies. She is an excellent class teacher and presenter. I've met and worked with Carrie on several occasions over the years, largely related to teacher and parent training workshops in South Africa, at KEPS and other schools. She was always enthusiastic. One of her many strengths is her ability to communicate well, both verbally and in writing, to all ages and abilities, both children and adults. She is always and easily able to establish a good rapport with the people she meets. She's a very good listener and has great empathy with others." That's from Alan Davies. The next message is from Arlene Manier. Thank you, Arlene. "I cared deeply for Carrie. We had such wonderful Zoom conversations after she moved to the UK. It was quite a shock when I heard of her untimely passing. I felt so sad, that her life was cut so short, as she was so brave and positive, caring and kind. I'm deeply grateful for the times that we shared, the laughter, the memories, and the love. My deepest sympathy to all of you. She was wonderful, strong woman with so much love in her. Please can you accept my condolences and say farewell to her from me at her final resting place. May she at last find the peace that eluded her during a long battle with the illness that finally consumed her. Warmest wishes, Arlene Mania. The next I'm going to read is from Jill Wagemaker, and she put a beautiful message together in the format of a poem. A heart of gold, a spirit bright. With passion and fire she taught and guided, inspiring young minds her heart always provided. Committed and strong through the trials she stood, determined to make a difference as she understood. Her own battles fierce, with life's greatest test, she faced each day with the courage and steadfast best. Yet in darkness she shone, a beacon bright, supporting others through their darkest night. To me she offered a listening ear, comfort and love, when grief drew near. When my son's passing left me lost and blue, she stood by me with a heart anew. A devoted mother, wife and friend, her love and kindness will ever end. Her legacy lives on, in hearts she has touched, a spiritual soul forever cherished and loved. May her journey now be peaceful and bright, may her memory guide us through life's plight. Rest in peace, dear one, your love remains forever in our hearts, your spirit sustains. Thank you, Joel. And then, Rajesh, I think you're here today, and if can I read on your behalf? Okay. If you just bear me 1 second. Yep. This isn't what Carrie would have done, drop papers and so on. But Rajashri, thank you very much. Good morning, friends and colleagues and family. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by another name would smell as sweet. Mrs. C. Viljoen, as we at King Edward VII Preparatory School would know her. Over my past 28 years at this institution, I've worked with Miss Owen, Mrs. Swart, and Carrie Viljoen, only to realize that she is the same person. Carrie has been a fashion freak with her immaculate dress sense, her daily stilettos, makeup, stylish hairstyles, and a laughter that echoes still. Complementing her appearance came her overall approach to her colleagues, students, and all that she interacted with. Carrie maintained a dignified, respectful approach. In the years that she worked with me, I was always treated with remarkable respect and phenomenal praise as a foundation phase teacher. This positive approach by Carrie encouraged my growth as a class teacher. Carrie introduced the Thras phonics method to KEPS, enhancing reading and writing of the English language to our boys. Some boys loved it, some disliked it. However, she had the whole school singing the bird, rabbit, cat, Thras rap. Together we introduced the foundation phase spelling bee competitions, participated in the Kids Lits competition, and she encouraged me to register our school with the Battle of the Books Library competition, which was a huge success at KEPS. Public speaking and debating was just another passion which encouraged our grade 7s to pursue this extramural at KES. Little did we know that she would emigrate, leaving her career behind her career. Her school that she was so compassionate about, a superbly organized aftercare facility, discipline, uniform, and manners. Carrie would always end her class Thras lessons by choosing a Thras king for the day. She would leave the class by shouting out with the boys, "Long live the king." I pen off by saying to Donovan, Darren, Melissa, Wesley, Jonathan, family and friends, long live the memories of Carrie Patricia Viljoen. You will be sorely missed. Thank you so much, Rajashri. Um, yeah, so as you know, obviously the Donovan, Wesley, and Jonathan and Darren are in the UK at the moment, and we had the service obviously earlier today. Donovan has left us or given us a voice note, which we'll play now, and it's dedication to Carrie.
Firstly, I want to say thank you to Father Addenbrook for stepping in and delivering a lovely sermon. Thank you, sir. Secondly, to all of you who have come through to be with us today, it is greatly appreciated by myself, the family, and Carrie would have been humbled by your attendance. To all of you in South Africa, thank you for attending a celebration of life gathering in honor of a well-loved and respected wife, mother, and human being. To Melissa, Moo, thank you for arranging and handling everything in South Africa. It is greatly appreciated, and I am saddened that we could not all be together today. To Jonathan, thank you for all your help and support in doing all the arrangements on this side of the pond. To those of you who attended our wedding, it was 27 years ago, yesterday, the 27th of September, that Carrie and I tied the knot. It only feels like it was yesterday. How time flies when you have a good life and marriage. The suit, by the way, that I'm wearing is the same suit I got married in to Carrie, the best woman in the world for me. They say that opposites attract, and they say opposites attract one another. Carrie and I were very different in many ways, but it worked. It worked because Carrie gave me space to do my thing, and I gave Carrie space to do her thing, and this developed into mutual respect for one another, no matter our differences. There were many times that we did not see eye to eye on things, but in the end it would work itself out, when Carrie would remind me that she was right, and for most of the time she was, even though I would not admit it. Carrie stuck with me and all my crazy ideas on how to make money, and there were many failed ideas. But this amused Carrie, and no matter how crazy the idea was, she would support and encourage me, even if I failed. That was Carrie. To all who knew Carrie, she was always a lady, well-dressed, well-groomed, loved, caring, and respected by all, and had a wicked sense of humor. Carrie's whole life and existence on this planet, in my opinion, was a passion for teaching, languages, the art, culture, her love and dedication to children, especially her own, who she deeply loved and would do anything for their well-being and happiness. Oh, and mine too. Carrie was always worried about the well-being of others before her own, even in the last days of her life. That's just who she was, taking control of things and getting things done in Carrie's way, and that meant now, not later. Carrie was proud of all her children, and if it was not for Darren, Carrie and I may not have met. This was the start of a great adventure and journey. Unfortunately, Carrie was saddened by the fact she would not see her granddaughter, Luna, grow up and become a lady, not being able to walk Melissa down the aisle at her wedding, not seeing Wesley achieve his goals in the military, and of course, not seeing her baby boy, Jonathan, graduate from university, and hoping to one day see Darren and Sarah tie the knot. Father Addenbrook gave good advice by saying that it is best to write everything down. However, the problem with that is you end up with too much information and not enough time. In celebrating the life of Carrie, remember that all of you touched her life in many very special ways. Carrie had many good friends, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being there for Carrie in her last days. A special thanks to Leanne, Margie, Sally, Anita, Gail, Mrs. Marnia, Charmaine, Nicola, and to others Carrie stayed in touch with. I could go on forever, but there comes a time to say goodbye. That time has come. To my loving and dearest wife, thank you for everything you have done for us all. It is greatly appreciated, and you never expected anything in return. You will be sadly missed by us all, but not forgotten. I am sorry and saddened that your life was taken far too soon, and that you could not fulfill your dreams of seeing your children and grandchildren grow up, and for us to travel in our golden years as you wanted to still see and experience so much. You have changed my life and world for the better. It has been an honor and privilege to have been married to you. I am proud to have been your husband and to have called you my wife, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. I will never forget you, your loving husband and friend, forever loved, loved forever.
Thank you, Donovan, and I know that you're all watching on the other side, and from obviously my side, I'm eternally grateful to you for looking after my sister for all those years and just being the person that you are. I know that it's extremely difficult for all of you on that side, but thank you for everything that you have done. Next up, we're going to have Melissa.
Is it okay here? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today, whether in person or joining virtually. We are all here to celebrate my mom, Carrie, a woman who is kind, funny, and intelligent, and who has made a lasting impact on so many people. I know she would have been deeply touched by your presence today. When I think about her, so many memories come flooding back. Our pizza and wine nights at Fratelli, our random Saturday breakfasts, and the times we got hopelessly lost in the streets of Houghton, looking for houses on show and pretending that we wanted to buy them. Then there were the countless times she would buy the wrong hair products because she had forgotten her glasses, never bothering to return them, of course. But those memories are what made her who she was, fun, spontaneous, and filled with so much love. Her love for fashion was legendary, as many have mentioned. My mom had an entire wardrobe that was frequently reorganized. Her love for clothes often led us to emptying her cupboards together. She would always let me score a few items of clothing like this dress. But the price I paid was reorganizing her entire cupboard. Beyond her passion for fashion, she was an extraordinary teacher. My mom dedicated just over 3 decades to teaching children, first at KEPS, then in Scotland, and finally online. She had an incredible way of connecting with her students, whether they were young boys learning their phonics or children with learning difficulties. She ran an aftercare program, and it was easy to see how much she was adored. Every year, on her birthday and Christmas, were a display of the love of her children, of her students and their parents. Sorry. Let me start that sentence again. Every year, her birthday and Christmas were a display the love her students and their parents had for her, with presents flooding in as tokens of their appreciation. The amount of Ferrero Rocher in our fridge was wild. She was also a woman of profound strength. When she was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, she faced it with immense courage and determination. She was adamant that she would pull through. Even in the face of such challenges, my mom's strength was unwavering. She was the person... She was the person who, when I was younger, did everything to ensure I was okay, even when she wasn't. Whether she was struggling emotionally, mentally, or financially, she never let that stop her from being there for her children. She was a pillar of strength, not only for me, but for my brothers as well. One of the most valuable lessons my mom ever taught me
was that I am braver than I think I am, and that I am not defined by my mistakes. She always reminded me that I could do anything, and even when I didn't believe in myself, she always did. In her later years, her role as grandmother to my daughter Luna became another source of joy. Even though they spent a lot of time apart, they shared many moments through video calls, Mom always finding new and funny sounds to make Luna laugh. It brought me so much happiness to see their bond grow, and I know Luna will carry her Nana's love with her as she grows older. I believe she would want us to remember her as the beautiful person she was, both inside and out. She was someone who deeply cared for others, from her family and friends to every child who had the privilege of learning from her. Her beauty was reflected in how she lived her life, with generosity, humor, and a deep love for those around her. I will continue to reach for my dreams, just as she always encouraged me to do. Even when I doubted myself, she believed in me wholeheartedly. That's how I will carry her legacy forward, by living bravely, pushing beyond my doubts, and knowing that she is still with me, cheering me on. Thank you again for being here and celebrating her incredible life with us. She'll be deeply missed, but her love, her lessons, and her spirit will live on in all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. And of course, we all understand how difficult it is. I mean, especially, your mom and the memories that I have of the two of you together. The memories that obviously Johnny and Wesley had together as well. I mean, that is what today is about. But thank you very much for sharing those wonderful moments as well. I'm just going to, there are two more things that I think I'm going to, that I'm going to end off with. One is a poem that was sent through by Melissa to the UK this morning that was actually read out at the service that was held for Carrie. But a poem that I didn't realize, in fact, until Melissa told me today, was a poem that Carrie had actually sent you. So I'm going to read it, and thank you for sharing it with the service this morning, and I'm going to share it with everyone here today, this afternoon. The poem is by Henry Scott Holland, and it's called Death is Nothing at All. Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I've only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you used to, which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air, solemnity, or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be forever, forever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is hurt, nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again. Thank you, Carrie. So, before we sign off, one of the most amazing parts of Carrie's influence to her pupils comes in comes in the form by a youngster, Riley, and Sally, his mum, is here today. And I know, and I'd like to say thank you to Sally for keeping in touch with Carrie. During those last moments, I know that you became very, very close. But one of the most amazing things was that Carrie not only formed bonds with pupils, but she also formed bonds with people that meant the world to her. And Sally, you are certainly one of those people. So Riley was obviously one of Carrie's pupils. And I'm just going to read this because Riley is 12 years old, and I just think this is one of the most amazing dedications to my sister. My name is Riley. I am 12 years old and go to school at Acacia in Observatory. I'm excited to share my creative project with you. I've been very fortunate to experience the love and support of a very special teacher, mentor Carrie Viljoen, who always believed in my abilities and shared my dreams. One of these dreams was to start my own t-shirt business, creating lasting memories of my own artistic creations. Very sadly, Carrie passed away on the 28th of August 2024 after a long and courageous battle with cancer. She found out in 2020 that she had an advanced stage of cancer. The treatment she received then was keeping the cancer at bay until it sadly spread to her brain. Carrie was a fighter, a survivor, and would not want to see me and would want me to succeed. And I am so sad that I didn't get to give her the t-shirts I was working on for her. For this reason, I've decided to launch my t-shirt business in her memory. I have a beautiful, vibrant color design which I've chosen, which I think represents the type of person she was. My mum and I also discussed paying it forward, and I've decided that I will donate a percentage of the funds raised towards paying for women who cannot afford a mammogram, as Carrie suffered from breast cancer. I've learned that early detection is important, as treatment can begin and is often successful. This project was initiated out of the entrepreneurship class I take at Acacia, and I'm very grateful to Emily Primick for assisting me with the graphic design elements, and Duran Pontes for helping me make my dream come true and printing these t-shirts for me at a very good price. Thank you for supporting me and my business and for honoring the remarkable individual who touched so many lives. And just to give a description, it's a beautiful design, and there's a little little piece of writing at the bottom that says "for Carrie." So certainly, Riley, we will be supporting you, and thank you so much, for dedicating this little business of yours, which we hope is going to be a big one, to the life of Carrie and all those that suffer from cancer. One of the things, before I do sign off, I've just realized that there were, I think, 3 messages that I didn't read, and I think it's probably quite timeless in fact, because they are also messages from a mom and 2 pupils that Carrie taught. So from Liesl, I think it's Briquet. Sorry, Liesl, it's I'm not Carrie. I know Carrie was almost fluent in French, but forgive me. Dear Mrs. Viljoen, I feel so fortunate that Daniel and Mark were at KEPS during the time that during the time of the Mrs. Carrie Viljoen era. Teaching the boys were your calling. From the very first time we saw you on stage, always in high heels, we could feel your passion for the school and its boys. The Thrash spelling songs became regular in our home and in the car to school. Daniel was so proud when you asked him to join you at universities to teach the Thrash to students. When Mark started with violin, you saw his passion. You gave him your son's previous violin. You gave him your son's previous violin. He was so chuffed. Now that he has outgrown it, it has its own special place on our mantelpiece. I treasure the messages that we have shared over the past few years. You have loved watching Mark's violin videos and still spoke about Daniel as your right-hand man. You so desperately wanted to beat this thing and travel. and we were hoping to welcome you into the Netherlands. Sadly, that did not happen, but you will always be in our hearts. I miss not being able to send you a WhatsApp so much. Lots of love, Liesel Bricot. And then this is followed up by Mark. Dear Mrs. Viljoen, I miss you a lot. I still remember you when you taught me thrash at Keps. I was so happy. When you gave me your son's violin, I was always so happy when you wanted to sit and watch my violin concert videos and send us comments about it. I will cherish my memories forever. Lots of love, Mark. And then finally from Daniel. Mrs. Viljoen, in my time at Keps, you were always there, from the start of my Keps journey to its end, and soon after her journey outside of South Africa had begun. In my time at Keps, you were always someone to lean on. Carrie Viljoen put everything towards what she believed, and it's one of those things that, and one of those things was thrash. She believed it was the key to teaching the alphabet. She took me along while presenting her ideas, and I learned so much from her. I will miss her deeply. From Daniel. It's actually quite overwhelming, the messages, and I'm pretty sure that more are going to come through. And, I don't think, unfortunately, we are able to read all of them. But the one thing that I will say, sort of following from this early morning service, and then, everyone who's actually come through this afternoon, Carrie was well loved, and for good reason. Carrie gave, but she also received, and I'm very, very honored, as would Carrie have been, that you are here today. As mentioned, Carrie was very particular about the people that she associated herself with. Carrie found in people things that she was able to give herself. I'd really like to end off by saying thank you very much for being here. And I think just finally, I mentioned the 17 months that used to be so important to me, growing up. That difference between myself in age with Carrie, who used to remind me on her birthday that it was only a year, but I always knew it was 17 months. But what I would give, as we all would, for another 17 years with you, another 17 hours, 17 minutes. But one thing that I can say for sure is that what you gave and who you were, I don't think there are people on this planet who would be able to do or give or be in 17 lifetimes. To Carrie, thank you for being the sister, the wife, the brother, the aunts, the daughter, the grandmother. Thank you for all those things, but thank you as well, for everyone that you've brought here today as well. It's a special bunch of people, and it's actually extremely comforting knowing that you were surrounded by such wonderful people. So thank you to everyone overseas and who's obviously watching online, and thanks to everyone who's come here today to celebrate the life of Carrie. I'm going to end by saying I think there's some eats, Melissa, if that's correct, so we can mingle a little bit and have a chat. But thanks very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you.